Mental Mondays ignite the spark. Hope guides each step, even in the dark. New week, new dreams to see. Hope's the key to what's meant to be.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Hope. I'm Hope. I hope you all are enjoying the back and forth with our weather, our fake spring, and now we're back to winter. Tonight, my guest is Darnell Davis. He is the CEO of Aspire to Autonomy, which is a nonprofit organization that works with individuals who have been trafficked or who are at risk of being trafficked. So let's go ahead and welcome Darnell to the show tonight. Hey, yes, everybody gets a round of applause.
Love it.
So hello, Darnell. How are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. It's been a long week, and it's already been so late.
I was going to say, it's only Monday.
It's been a long week already. So, yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, my. 40 hours in a day, huh?
I wish, man. I think it's 60, man. I just feel like I woke up and the day's over. And it's just so much go.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So I do like to start my show with a positive affirmation, from my guests. It's something that, I started when I started the show because I feel it's important. A lot of times we don't take the time to say something positive about ourselves in an I am statement. So I like to have my guests do that, and hopefully they carry that on with them a little bit throughout the day or the next day. So how about it? I am what? See, we have to think. Isn't it true? A positive affirmation about yourself.
I want to say may not be what I want to say. May seem a little too pig-headed, so I'll go with another. I'll swing to the side, and I am worth it. I am worth the work. I am
absolutely. Absolutely, that's a great one. You're right, and I wish everyone would have that same positive affirmation and believe it. And absolutely believe it, because a lot of times we don't set standards for ourselves, or we set standards and we let them get bent, or broken. And it's really important to, especially, what we're talking about tonight too. We're talking about Aspire to Autonomy, which you do work with individuals who have been trafficked or who are at risk of being trafficked. And I'm sure, as we discussed, that self-worth is something that's very important in that community. To learn self-worth.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's an important factor, because it's actually internalizing what could be. And I think a lot of people miss that, if you don't value yourself, no one else will, right?
Right.
That's what's most important, is you got to value yourself. Once you start to see yourself in a certain manner, in a certain light, others will begin to gravitate to that and also begin to see you in the same light.
Right. Do you think we teach that to our kids? I mean, I know, I think you're younger than I am. I mean, my children are 35 and 27. Is that something that you see? I mean, I'm sure in your own life, because I've met you and your wife and your daughter. Do you think we teach that to our young kids to learn their self-worth?
I'm not going to say, I can't speak for everyone, but I definitely, that's one of the things that I speak to my kids, all of them, all three of them.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah.
Right.
For me, it's important for you to realize that your value is inherited. It's not, it's something it's almost like an inalienable right. We'll call it like that, right? You're valuable, and things that you do can either increase or decrease your value overall, but you have value. And I teach, especially my girls, they get that all the time. Then my son I teach my son that you're valuable because you have this lineage you have. So yeah, that's something that it's a little harder these days because of what's the other influences that are telling them that message. And so even as good as you may try to convey that message, it's the other influences that tend to come about that begin
Right.
to challenge that. And so you have to override that, but you also have to encourage them to listen and read and do things that will increase their internal value and how they perceive themselves.
Right, right. And I know, when I was a kid, we rode bikes, we ran around outside. It was, we didn't have cell phones, and you were barely on the phone. There's such a different battle these days because you have to be on top of everything. What's out there in social media? What are the slang terms of the day? What do I have to be on top of in order to understand what my child could potentially be going through or getting into?
I try not to keep up on the slang anymore because I find that I find that I fail that miserably. So it's just like, hey, look, I'm not even going to try to do this. Look,
Fair.
I think I understand what you're coming. I'm going to use context clues now, and everything. But yeah, I'm just not going to do that because some of the slang
Right,
it makes no sense, and so
right.
you know,
That's
you know,
fair. That's fair. So,
yeah.
so tell everyone about Aspire to Autonomy. Like, what are the nuts and bolts?
So do you want the Cliff Notes version or do you want the hey I'm trying to get your money version? Which version do you?
Well, I mean, so okay,
That's what.
so
Yeah, we
you
have two
can give
versions.
us right. I got you. You can give us the cliff notes, but certainly, we
No,
do have the website. We're going to put that up. We're going to
no,
scroll that across. Certainly, if you would like to donate to Aspire to Autonomy, they are a 501c3. And
yeah.
and we know how funding is for nonprofits these days. So it's tough.
I jokingly say that because you have one where it's very detailed and the other is detailed but not going into the depths. But anyhow, the 2018 Amber and I started Aspire to Autonomy. We've been in existence since July of 2018. Over the years, we've done a couple of things, but things are where we used to try to find ourselves in a space that was called an anti-human trafficking organization. But then we thought, wait a second, that kind of typecast us because we do more than that. And so we changed our mission a little bit in our value statement a little bit different. Now we are a human services organization that supports individuals who have been, who are currently being, or at high risk of being human trafficked or exploited. Now essentially we still are very much at our core an anti-human trafficking NPO. However, we don't want people to think that that's the only thing that we do, in that we want to get into a preventive space versus a reactive space. So a lot of times in the world that we work in, it's mostly reactive. It's something happened and then we come in contact with someone. And we got a phone call. Someone did this and we got a phone call. What we endeavor to do is to flip that and become more preventive. And the way we do that is the first side of it is we decided, hey, after our safe house we had to shut down. After we had to shut down our safe house for women, we decided that, hey, we're going to take a more proactive approach. And so we thought, well, one of the main indicators or precursors to exploitation is unchecked mental health. Trauma is one of those things where it transcends race, culture, socioeconomic, and it also leaves an individual vulnerable. We kind of started off by saying that we ask our vets after seeing combat to go see a therapist if they're starting post-traumatic stress, right? And we said, well, wait a second, man. If we're doing the work that we're doing, we're coming in contact people who live in neighborhoods that, guess what, are war zones. So why are we not proactively pursuing supporting our target audience? Because that trauma is a high risk factor. that goes back to our original mission, which was, hey, those are at risk of being human trafficked or exploited. So we know the high risk people are there, but subsequently, everyone that we've worked with, that we've supported, that has been a survivor of human trafficking, also have had complex trauma, complex mental health needs, and unfortunately, some of them have gone so unchecked for years that we've even had, unfortunately, to even help 302 someone to get them the necessary supports that they need. So we felt that mental health was just like one of those other things. The other side of the organization is our community intervention services. Our community intervention services, what it is basically, it's our version of outreach, right? And that outreach is not just about going out and trying to identify individuals that have been trafficked, because that, again, you're looking for a needle in a haystack, right? Because it's a lot of times it's a self-diagnosed problem, if you will, right? Most people don't realize that in that moment. There are certain subjects, obviously, certain opportunities that people are going to see where obviously it is, but in a lot of cases it's not that. So we figured out, again, coming from a preventive standpoint, how do we prevent but yet get the information that we, for what we do, into the hands of to average people, or everyday people. And so we started a couple initiatives in that program. One of them is our Project Underground Railroad, which is our training series where we go in and we train the community. We train people on indicators. We train people on that. The other side of it is we do our wellness hubs, which is basically, we have a team that goes out into the community, works with the community partners, and we provide outreach therapy as well as resource navigations. We're helping people get access to, because one of the things we've realized is that a lot of people fall into the category of risk because of resource needs. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a mom that's gotten to the end of her paycheck, if you will, or her money, but she still had much month left to do. And I can't tell you how many individuals we've talked to that now all of a sudden she's having to make decisions that would put her at risk and what have you. So we try to help by creating opportunities for people to get that additional support. One of which is what we talked about earlier, is we've partnered with a food pantry in Allentown to help get resources into the hands of people while also giving them food. We don't that pantries with Thankful Hearts and Daniel Dutch, right? And he's doing a fantastic job over there. But it's no questions asked. It's not like you only get to come one time a month or anything like that. It's there weekly. If there's food and you need it, we're saying go ahead and come on in and get what you need. Because it really is about meeting those needs. And so we have our wellness up there, which allows us to also help if you need help. So getting other supports, other resources and all that stuff. And so that's what we do with that. And so we do all of that. And then one more is our combat food insecurity initiative, where as a matter of fact, this Saturday we'll be set up in Easton. We're going to be dropping 100 boxes of food in the community, you know. That's and excellent. So we're going to be out giving away 100 boxes of food within the community on Saturday. So those are types of things that we do. As far, you know, that's the Cliff Note version. I can get into some of the other things that we do, but you know, there's other smaller components of what we do as an organization as a whole. But that is the core. Right. Those are the core things that we do on a day-to-day.
Now, you are located in the Lehigh Valley. Does all of your programming occur in the Lehigh Valley?
Yes. We've gone as far as Stroudsburg to support. But the need is really, it's a greater need. And so we have to look with our resources. We try to expand up that way, but it just takes so much more than what we've had. I think we've broken that 7-year hump, right? Where, you know, as a nonprofit, we're trying to grow,
Sure.
and you just got to push through to that 7th year for some reason. And once you get over there, now we're starting to see the growth that we really were been asking for. And so hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll be able to expand. But we've also supported individuals that have come from all over the area. New Jersey, New York. We supported a young lady and helped her get back to California, Florida. So we do help a wide range of locations in the valley, but definitely, I mean, in the area, but we're definitely hyper focused in the Lehigh Valley and the immediate surrounding
Right. And are there any other organizations that do anything similar to what you do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There have been
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There have been a few, and there are quite a few that are in other locations, but in this area, the only other that's working in the capacity that we are is Bloom for Women. They're doing a fantastic job. They do things a little differently than we, but what they do well, and that's exciting to know that there are some people that they have their niche, and it's exciting to see how they work within their niche. And we just try to be, so we've referred over to them on many of occasions. And when we had our safe house, when they had a problematic situation where they needed to hurry up and get something, when they needed to hurry up and get something going along, we were able to take on some of their potential clients as well. So it's just a matter of, resources. But then there are other locations and other programs that are similar, if you will, in that they support women who've been abused, domestic violence, and all that other stuff.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're stuck within that scope, and so it makes it's a little harder. We can get some supports, but it makes it a little harder to get those other supports to happen within those organizations.
And I don't want to, focus everything on trafficking, but I felt like when I wanted to talk to you on the show, there's so much maybe misconception about trafficking or misinformation about trafficking. If you actually do that training program outside of the Lehigh Valley, I will get you some gigs up here. So
we'll do. We'll travel to train.
Okay.
Travel.
Okay.
There's a
Because
difference. Traveling to train and training is something we do. It's just that we're a small team, and so we're trying to expand our reach. Yes, but setting up trainings, we will gladly come up and do trainings wherever we do. But it is we actually focus a lot in our trainings of really identifying what is different than what the TV tells you. And
exactly.
I think that's the danger, is that we have it glamorized on television, and so we tend to think of only things of happening the way it happens on television. And so most people think it's the snatch and grab. Oh, I got to watch out for the unmarked paneled van or what have you. And I won't say that those things don't exist, because that would also be erroneous as well. But most people look for that, but they don't look at the smaller things that happen and how it happens over time. And a lot of times that's what it is. It's never really about those snatch and grabs, if you will. A lot of times it's more about relationship and grooming and those other things that take place in order for that to happen.
And I think that part of it is huge. The grooming part is really important. That we educate the community about that, because, the snatch and grab. Yes. And actually, when you and I first started communicating, that was a message that I had sent you because it was something that was questioned to me. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to go ask an expert. And it was about, with DHS and ICE, with their masks and everything, and just grabbing people off the street, has that, given opportunity to traffickers. And you said that that's really not the case as much. Again, in our community, it's more where, yes, that happens, but the snatch and grab, but we're looking at more of the grooming and exploitation of family members, people.
that the circle is definitely smaller when you look at it. In a larger scale, yes, we have to make those distinctions and what have you, because that can happen. I'm definitely not saying that it does not, but it can happen.
Right.
It can happen, but most people don't understand. There's the United Nations definition has to do anything done by force, fraud, or coercion for the reason of exploitation. Force, fraud, coercion for the reason of exploitation, right? When you hear those words and you start thinking about, well, wait a second, that opens up the scope so much more. Yeah, there's force, there's an occasional force, but most trafficking is fraud or coercion.
Right.
Most of it is the other thing. Hey, because we don't just deal with sex. We deal with labor and other forms of trafficking. Oregon, we've been investigating some things, researching, I'm going to say researching, not investigating, researching information on organ harvesting and all those other things that are going on, because a lot of people are not aware of those things on a day-to-day basis. And these are the things that because everybody thinks of how heinous sex is, and we're not downplaying it. It is bad, right? But almost 70% of trafficking is labor. It's forced labor of some sort, right? And you're like, well, that's the case. Well, how does that look? How's that look in the numbers world, right? It's bad for sex. I'm not saying it's not bad, but are we missing out on almost 70% of all trafficking situations being labor? And that's when those things that goes unnoticed, because it doesn't look like sex does. So you can tell, hey, you're doing this is an exchange or what have you. Sometimes it looks like the individual has a legit job. The optics look great, but the experience behind the scene is not. And that's where things get a little blurry, right? And so we try to make sure that we make people aware that it's not just that. It is a larger scope of situation, because people are being victimized on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of times it's right underneath the nose. I'll give you just one good one. Somebody asked me, I go, currently, I think it's close to about 2 million people every year. Currently, 2 million people are currently experiencing traffic, and it's state sanctioned. How does that happen?
Wow.
I'll rephrase it. I'll say it a little different. The government knows it's happening. The government that is happening, acknowledge that it can happen, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
So what do you? Are we talking people who don't have working papers who are working?
So what I'm saying to you, so 2 million people right now in America are being trafficked, and it is state sanctioned, but we don't call it that because it's the only time an American can be forced into labor.
Okay, so like if you are in jail and you're like on work release.
The 13th Amendment, or was it the 12th or the 13th Amendment? I can't remember which one. Only says that an individual cannot own slaves. However, if you're convicted of a felony, you become what? You lose your civil rights. You become, the term that they use, they even go property of the state. That is literally what you see on a lot of the old school jackets and work uniforms and stuff. Property of the state. Again, and so you might know somebody or have heard somebody who might be in hey, you got to get up and go to a work camp, all the time in Louisiana or some places where it's hot still. There are people, factories. I shared one of the things with COVID. I said most interesting is when there in New York, there was a situation during COVID where the governor actually had prisoners helping create and bottle hand sanitizer in the state of New York during COVID.
Well,
So-
I'm going to play devil's advocate, because what they will say is that goes against the cost of housing them.
No. Again, it doesn't say that it's. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. Or
Yeah,
justified.
no, I'm just saying that I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, like, this is what could potentially be said as to why it's okay to do.
Or no, it's the only time. But it's what it is that it's the only time that you don't have individual rights any longer. And so as a result, that's why you're seeing the system, the prison work systems are starting to, the privatization of the prison systems are now causing, it's a great example of that is what was going on in the show Orange is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
It happened, they showed it on Orange is the New Black. So if you think about that, if it's made it to the mainstream, there's a reason why it made it to the mainstream. Right. And so, but again, we're not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I'm saying it is happening, right?
It's happening.
But because some of us can say, well, it is, you're earning your keep. You're earning the ability, the taxpayer shouldn't have to pay you to do that. You should be earning your keep. It should be, if what they were doing was actually going to pay for them to earn to pay for themselves being in the system. No, that someone else is getting those profits as a result.
Right.
So that's where it gets right. And so trafficking is so much more than what we see on TV and all of that stuff, because force, fraud, coercion for the reason of exploitation. It's legitimate. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, it's just unfortunate that it's also exploitive.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I never even, I didn't even think of that. But I mean, yeah, now that you've said it, obviously that happens, and we just all know it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And don't really see it any different. Like, see it for what it really is, I guess is what I'm saying. Wow. You're making me think tonight. You're making me, think that I need to get some training myself, and then get you up here and do some training for some of the organizations that, that I work with in the community here with your small team. Are we taking a break, Kendall? Is that why you're okay? So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Darnell. We're going to keep diving into this, and we are, because again, we talked about trauma and mental health, so we are going to talk about that a little bit. So we'll be right back.
A doctor's calling, a company's mission, united for a greater good. When Edmark International, the pioneers of wellness, joined forces with Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, naturopath, the world gained a new weapon in the fight for true health. Co-created, science-backed, nature-powered. This isn't just a product. This is a movement. Born from decades of groundbreaking research, naturopathic mastery, and Edmark's relentless innovation.
The body wants to heal itself, and we have just given it the ultimate toolkit.
A detox unlike any other. A partnership unlike any other. The future of health starts now.
We are back. So we're talking with Darnell Davis. He's the CEO of Aspire to Autonomy. We were just talking about trafficking, beyond sexual trafficking, and things that can be happening right in our own communities, right under our own noses. And because we don't necessarily understand it, we don't know it's happening. I wanted to say that in my own community, so, you're down in the Lehigh Valley. I'm in the west end of Monroe County. We're farm country out here. I mean, it used to be more farm country. And maybe about 2 months ago, there was an article in the newspaper that someone, that probably literally in the next town over, still in the west end of Monroe County, was arrested for trafficking. And it wasn't, someone from another country, and they weren't smuggling people in or abducting people off the street. It was a white individual who was exploiting a girlfriend. And these are the things, from what you're saying, are the things that are happening more commonly than how it's being portrayed on television.
He has to unmute his mic.
Hold on, I lost you, Darnell.
He has to unmute his
Darnell,
mic.
I lost you.
Tell me you can't hear him.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
You hear me now?
Hey, there you go. You're back.
I didn't know that it was me. I was saying that's the unfortunate of it, is that we're always told, we're presented as it being the others, right? It being the others. And unfortunately, it's not always the others. In fact, from the first time I started doing street outreach 10 years ago, almost now, till present, and I can tell you that, I'll say 8 years. I'm sorry, 8 years ago, close to 9. I can see that that's not the truth. It's not always the others. A lot of times it's just because we're programmed to see it. As one of the biggest questions I get is, what's going on about people in the border and all that stuff? And I'm like, that's again one of those things where, yes, it is happening in large scale. And I don't like politicizing people's lives, but the reality of the work that we get to do is we see the other side, the dark side of what everybody's talking about, right? And it's like, yeah, but we get that. But you realize that a greater number of the most people that are here that are being exploited the way that we're talking about didn't come here illegally. A lot of them have come here. We've worked with several individuals that came over, right? Very legit. They came over with proper papers, came over with the right visas. They paid, and in a couple of cases, they actually paid their trafficker to get here.
Right.
Right. And so you can't just be, is it the others? Is it about the others? You have to look at it because anybody could be. It's not an us versus them, because if I could tell you the numbers, man, and show you the people that I've had the blessing of working with and supporting, those numbers aren't skewed in one way or the other. Right.
So, what can, we talked about mental health and self-worth. So what are some things, since you said you've seen the dark side of this, what are some characteristics? I know that sounds terrible, that someone who's going to exploit someone else, like what do they see as a characteristic or a weakness in someone? I know that's a tough one, like how do we teach our children? How do we teach our friends? How do we teach our neighbors? Because for me, again, like it's self-worth is really, really important. It's setting boundaries is really, really important. Not letting people take advantage of you is really important.
If you're asking me, if you're looking at what are some of the things that an individual who could have been trafficked, what that would look like, and I'm going to say there's no one thing. There's no one or two things, because I've dealt with the impoverished foreign woman, and I've also dealt with an American-born white male, mid-50s, right? I've dealt with them, and their situations they're totally different. But there are some key things that we can look at. Okay, let's what makes people at least or we're gonna say that give them the risk factors. We'll say poverty is one of those things. Mental health is another one of those, unchecked mental health. I think substance use disorder is another thing. Trauma from home, abuse from home, all those different things are factors that lead to personality types and situations, putting people into situations where if somebody's seeking to exploit an individual, right? That gives them that they kind of, it's like a fuel, it's like a little red flag, if you will, of individual. It's like a red flag for them to go, oh, hey, let's see how we can get through that. And a lot of times that's individuals in that space are more relationship prone. And so now I can at least look at how do I help. In a lot of cases, it looks like someone is coming in and supporting them by way of helping them fix a problem or what have you. But in the meantime, they're looking at those strategic opportunities to continue to help them while at the same time looking for those vulnerable moments and empower. That's when it happens. It's not that thing that happens. Like, it's not it may not even be 3 months. Maybe it's a year. It could, in some cases, it could take the process could take 2 years. You never know. You got one of the things that we do is we do a work like an activity before our training. And in this activity, the young lady that's represented in this activity started off, this guy, she was, in high school, and this guy she fell in love with and everything. He didn't do anything bad to her for a long time. And then through this scenario, all of a sudden, one day, he flipped the switch and there she is. Right. And so when you look at it from that perspective, if you look at it from that point of view, there's just not one particular thing to look for. What we try to do, and a lot of it's also internal, right? We do have a training that we do. It's about keep kids safe. So like, hey, what are you doing? If you're a teacher, what you should be looking at? If you're somebody who's working, because that's where it starts. It doesn't always start in the 20s. They sometimes start at 15, 16 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Those things that you can kind of go in and go, okay, you can see those things. But in most cases, it's just not, it's not even that. And a lot of times it's, and now with social media and the internet being an active participant in it, sometimes it's not even an individual being stuck out on the streets anymore, right? So it's not even that anymore. So it's gotten just as technical as any other craft, if you will.
Right. And I think, again, I mean, I try to keep up on things pretty well because of being in the mental health field. And, I have to say, I'm barely scratching the surface of information with this. And so imagine, like, just, again, the communities. I mean, I feel like your training programs are probably, extremely important. I hope that's one of your, ways to receive money for the organization. Wink, wink. There we're going, talking about the fundraising part, the dollars and cents part of it. Because I mean, as I'm sitting here talking with you, I'm like, oh, I can just think of a couple organizations or even communities that I know people would be interested in learning more. Because again, knowledge is power.
Yeah. And
when we don't have the knowledge, we watch the TikTok videos and the Facebook videos and the clips from television shows that romanticize almost everything, and it's inaccurate.
Let's say that it doesn't tell the whole story. We'll use that. Let's say it doesn't tell, because some of there is accuracy. It just doesn't. You're right. That's right. Yes. And that's the hard part, right? Is that it's because I share, like, some of the best times that we had in our industry was really, honestly, late 2019, 2020, 2021. That was the best times when the QAnons and all those people were up in arms. It was the best time. Fundraising was great because everybody, it was because everybody was talking about it, right? And then, all of a sudden, it just disappeared for 4 years, and then so it's tricky, right? But it's just the whole story. We just want more people to hear the whole story, and if we get more people to hear the whole story, in the work that we get to do, the blessing is that. And I like to focus more on the preventive and the support afterwards. So we call it, our program is called Path to Autonomy. It's the path to autonomy. And what we're doing is we're actually going in and working with survivors or individuals from the beginning to the end. So if we can become more preventive, now we find somebody who's in that space, we can help them along the way, right, on their path to autonomy, and help them circumvent that situation. But if somebody happens to come to us that's a survivor, we have that path to autonomy where we work with them until they say, hey, we're good. And then if they need to come back, we're still here to walk down that path. And so we want to tell that whole story. We want to get people to see the whole story, because it's not all bad. It's a bad situation, but it's not all bad.
Right.
As you saw at Lady Boss, we had that particular young lady. If you had met her 4 years ago, that's not the same woman that we came in contact with 5 years ago.
Wow.
Not even the same woman. Not even. She's willing to. Not only is she willing to be outside, but she was actually on stage. She would a couple of years ago, she would have never done that. Never done that. If one day, if we can, I'd have you let her tell her story. And that's her story to tell. But I promise you, that young lady, that would have not been the case, man.
Right. Well, and if she is willing to tell it, like, you know, in this format, I'd be happy to have her on. Or if not, I'd be happy for me personally to sit down with her and hear her story. Yes, I was very, very impressed with it.
Because, you know, I mean, now when she's come to us, she was afraid. Now she went back we helped her she's got her GED. She's got 2 certifications. She's a community mental health worker and a medical assistant. She got those certified medical assistants. She's got those 2 certifications. She went from being with us and homeless and just going through all kinds of craziness and what have you. Now she lives on her own. She has her own apartment. She lives her own life. And that's the good stuff. We've helped reunite families. That's the good stuff. I mean, we get the money is obviously in telling the bad stuff, right? It's telling the horror stories. But man, we've watched people. We see people that we've worked with. You know, I can't tell you how many times I'm walking down the street and somebody. Till this day, there's this old guy around the corner from me that he goes, "I remember you. You know, you're my friend. You're the mask guy." Because during COVID, you know, we sourced masks and we were just giving them out. And we were all over the place, dropping masks and hand sanitizer and stuff like that. And that's one of the things we like to do. We like to share the success because the bad stuff is bad. But man, it's not the only thing. There's success on the other side. Some of the young ladies that we've worked with, they've gotten not only their mental health in check, but their physical health overall. Better. I can't tell you how many of the ones we've worked with, they've had to have major surgery because they just weren't taking care of themselves and stuff like that. And to me, that's just as important to talk about as it is how they got to meet with us. You know, we've been blessed to work with community partners, but we've also been blessed to work with law enforcement, right? You know, it's those things. You know, I tell people when we have, and I know some people may not agree with me, but you know, our situation with Homeland Security is not the story that everyone else is telling, right? Right? It's not the same story. It's not the same story. I know the work that they do on our behalf. I know the doors that they've knocked down on our behalf, you know, in behalf of the people that we support and serve. It's a hard thing to figure out because you're hearing the media and you're hearing the loud voices, but I can promise you that, you know, I have a different relationship with that, and that stuff doesn't get to be talked about as loud, right? You know, I get to, you know, we've not only have we worked with and seen. We've seen migrants that are here that are loving. We support them in all kinds of ways, right? We've also seen negative ones. We've also seen
Mhm.
the ones that are trafficking their wives and the ones that are trafficking their girlfriends. They're the ones that we've also seen that. So again, our relationship with the information is so much more complex that we can't we just see what's happening because we're here on the ground. We're here. You can't tell me what I see in front of my face is not true, right? And so that's where I try to encourage people, like it get the whole story, because it's more to it. There's more information than what's out there. And you're right, we are going back into our goal now is by the end of the summer my goal is to train 500 people. That's a goal of mine for the summer, is just to get out there and train 500, train and activate 500 new bodies.
Wow, 500.
And train some trainers to go out and train, to spread our message and create that opportunity of awareness for a new generation of people that may not be as old.
Well, I mean, we're going to hold you to that 500. So where are you at though? Where are you at now with your 5?
We haven't even
What's
started.
that?
This is a new campaign.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's awesome. Well,
we've trained in the years that we've been together. We've been formed. I think we're at 1,500 to 1,600 people we've trained personally. So
nice.
We've done a lot of trainings, but over the last couple of years, we haven't done as many. And so, an initiative that I put before our board of directors and our team is, hey, I want to do 500 people. I want to train and activate 500 new people and get them out there. And hopefully some of that are train the trainers. Well, let's train the different people out there and spread the message as well.
And when you say activate, meaning that they are, eyes and ears,
so
and then they know the proper way to report things and to whom.
That and we don't call our volunteers. We call our volunteers ambassadors. And there's a specific language. Specific reason why we use that language versus volunteers is because what we want people to do. Our original programming with this is I'll take it back to our very first training. Our very first Project Underground Railroad training was upstairs in a small room in a bookstore. Right. It was what our original mission was, to create these pockets of training, these pockets of support, where anywhere in the community someone realizes what's going on and they bring others together, educate, support, and we create a dynamic ecosystem of support for our survivors and the individuals that we support, right? And that's what we're doing. Activation is not just, hey, you can identify, but what are you able to do? Because I'm a firm believer that when you receive information, you can only do two things: ignore and do nothing, or get involved.
Right.
There's no middle ground. It's either you heard it and you're saying, I don't care enough, that I'm just not, I heard it and it doesn't impact me enough to where it makes me want to activate and do something about it, or I've heard it and I need to do something about it. Our job is to get more people like that. Hey, do you want to get in and do something about it? We have all these outreaches that we're doing. So with our community wellness hubs, these are opportunities for everyday people to come on out, be with us in the community, help us when we go into the homeless encampments, help us when we're going out. And, like I said, we're dropping 100 boxes of food this weekend. Come on out. Support us, be a part of the community. And that's what we mean by activation. Be a part of the greater community so that if you see something, you'll understand what to say behind what you see. Where are the resources that you're going? Are you calling the human trafficking hotline? All these different things that exist, but we want to get you that identifiers, and you can become the eyes and ears of people. And then there's another program we have. It's called Reinforce Act 197, which is actually a law that was passed here in Pennsylvania, which states if you've ever gone into the bathroom at a library or at a thing, are you being abused? Do you know someone who's being abused by their partner? There's domestic violence posters all over the place. Very few places in those same spaces, there's supposed to be an anti-human trafficking poster as well. But it's not enforced at all.
Right, right. And you and I did speak about that. What was the act again? What was the number?
Act 197.
Okay. So, I'm on that. I am totally all over that. That is one thing that I'm going to be absolutely 100% keeping my eyes on. And when I go into a location and I see they're typically a yellow poster, are you or someone being hurt by someone, with the local domestic violence information. And if I do not see something about about being trafficked, I don't know what the wording is, but I'm sure I can get that from you. I will report it.
It's very specific. It's the human trafficking hotline. It's a very specific poster that has to be up. So
okay. Okay. All right. So So I'm going to get that information because when I talked with you, I said I think when I was down south, probably maybe 5 years ago was the last time I was in South Carolina. And, driving on the highway down there, it wasn't even the posters about domestic violence as much as it was the posters about human trafficking. And I mean, is it more common down there, or are they just more on top of things than we are here in Pennsylvania?
It's, again, because they're closer to the border, right?
Sure.
And so you're just going to have a different reaction. There's a lot more influx of people. But one of the frustrating things that we've talked about on many occasions is we're not talking about what's happening in our ports. We're not talking about what's coming down out of Canada, right? Because we are focused. We are told to focus at wall good, bad, wall good, wall bad, because
right.
Real lives. These are real bodies. These are real lives. Whether you think the wall was good or bad, whether you're not, those are real people being smuggled across the border. Those are real people dying at the border. There's real kids that are being exploited. Those are real peoples. That's not politics. That's reality. And it should be, we should be looking at that. And so down there, you're going to see it because it's just what you're, it's almost like, hey, you walk over if you go over here to the Wind Creek, right, and you see the posters, well, if you have a gambling problem, you should call this number, right? It's like, well, maybe I do, but at least I'm here. I'm right here, right? So it's like, I've lost everything, and I'm walking out, and guess what meets me? I have a gambling problem, and there it is, right there, right? It's a sign. I need to get out. So that's if you look at it like that, it's positioning.
Well, I will be now. When you say, you said like libraries, I've seen them in rest stops. I've seen them in the bathrooms, but they're also in the bathrooms at college campuses. On college campuses, I've seen them in my doctor's office. So, anywhere where there is a domestic violence poster giving information, there should be a human trafficking.
If you look at specific places, hotels, restaurants, strip clubs, anything that has to do with bodies where potential peoples are, but the bus stops and everything. Home Depot should really have stuff up, English and in Spanish.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
See? But again, it's just it just that it's one of those things that it's easily to overlook because it's not enforced, and because it's not enforced at scale, nobody really pays attention. And then currently, the way that once it is enforced, even if it is, the fines aren't even what it costs for a hotel room for the night.
Gotcha. So that needs to be looked by our legislators, right?
Yeah. Again, years ago, it was something everybody was looking into, but again, the times move on and the people move on. The news cycles out, but there are those of us that are still here on the ground, on the front lines, fighting the fight.
Right. Do you recall who wrote that bill? And if you don't, that's fine. You can look it up.
I know one of the co-sponsors is Lisa Boscola. She was one of the co-sponsors of that bill.
Okay.
She's a senator here in the Lehigh Valley.
Right. I'm assuming she's running again. I mean, I haven't heard anything otherwise. So, reaching out to Lisa. I'm on this, Darnell. I'm on this. So I will definitely, take a look, because that's something that's important to me. And we can do that, as members of the community. Now that we know that there is supposed to be a poster, where that domestic violence poster is, question it. We can do that. We can do that as members, good stewards of our own community.
Here we go. Senator Chris Douche, Senator Maria Collette, and Kristen Phillips. But I think the revisions, some of the revisions that came was also by way of Lisa Muscola and a couple of others.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's something that I'm also, like I had said to you previously, I'm going to look into that and see, why enforcement is not occurring and why the fine is so minimal.
Because really, in order for us to enforce it, you got to have a body or something,
right? Exactly.
To do so, and we can't even get things right to pass bills to keep our government from,
Right. Yeah, I know. Different show.
We can't even get to airports right now, so you just imagine something that's not going to net revenue, so, but one of the things that we can do is encourage some of those, especially because if you think about Airport Road here in PA, in Allentown, Airport Road, all of those locations should have that spot up. There's any hotel that's on a fairway, a throughway, or something like that. You should have them all over the place.
Right. Absolutely.
Of course, we know most of them are used for ill repute, so it just happens that it comes with the territory. Right?
So as we wrap up, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. What is maybe like one thing that you would like everyone who's watching, who maybe is even less informed than I am, and I don't feel like I was very informed. What's one thing that you want them to take from this?
There's more than meets the eye. Let's do that. I'll say there's more than meets the eye. Your situational awareness is key to helping individuals.
Absolutely.
Being able to prevent trafficking or helping someone get away from it, because there's always more than meets the eye. And it's better to see something and say something to the right channel. Say that not everything requires you to call law enforcement when there are other channels that you can call. I've seen that you guys are posting up the Human Trafficking Awareness Hotline and other things like that. Those are just as important as calling law enforcement. Unless you see someone, right? Unless you see someone that's being actively, then you call, obviously you call, you call law enforcement. But that human trafficking hotline, it gets you access to, it gets you access to data, and that is what's important. Right. Data. Let me give you guys, if I can, may I give you the phone number to the? And
so send it to me or the private.
Can chat. You put it in the? Can you put it in the chat? Or actually, I can. Oh, pencil's broken. You want us to put it up on the screen?
It is 888-373-7888. 7888.
What is it? 888 what?
888, right? 888 373
7888.
888. So that is the Human Trafficking Hotline.
7888.
Yep. 888-373-7888. Darnell Davis, it has been such a pleasure to have you. educate me and educate, our viewers. I know we do this on replay. So I'll give you the link. You can, share it clearly. Hopefully it will help educate some more people. I will be posting it again. And what I am promising you on my end is that I am going to work with you on your 500 person goal, because I am very competitive and I like a challenge. So I am going to be working on that goal with you. And definitely, I'm going to talk with you, whenever throughout the week or the next coming weeks, because I know you've already had a full week's worth of work in one day, about getting some training programs up this way. We're not that far from the Lehigh Valley. And, and I know people who are passionate and, and I'm sure that this is something that they would want to learn. So the website is Path to Autonomy. I'm going to throw that back up there. pathtoautonomy.org, so you can learn more about Aspire to Autonomy. And when is your food drop? Is
this Saturday?
Right? Saturday. Easton,
Saturday.
Where is it and what time?
Centennial Park at 11 a.m. in Easton. Centennial Park. It's on 12th in Ferry Street in Easton.
Yep, I know where that is actually. And is that on your Facebook page and your web page?
Because we were doing something, we were going to be specifically putting it out there for the community. So you won't necessarily see it on our Facebook, but you'll see in some of the community posts that we do. We're trying something different with our marketing efforts. For this particular one. The next one we're also doing one next month as well. But this one's going to be a community wellness hub, where we're going to be working on having some health screenings, mental health screenings, and all that stuff at the same time. So, so I have to do
we'd love to link that information on our PA Empowerment webpage as well. So, we can stay connected with that, and, we'll put things on our webpage that you guys are doing to help our greater community, get to know what's going on, and maybe they can help as well.
Copy that. I appreciate the time.
All right, Darnell. Thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and, reporting at some show down the road here by the end of summer that we've hit that 500.
Roger that. Let's go for it. I'm with it.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of the week.
Take care.
And